Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, September the 10th. And I was talking to someone this morning, looked at the date to write down the date on the top of my task list and realized, geez, Manise, it is already September. Elias has been calling Q4 the great lock-in. If you've been plugged into any of our collective learning spaces, you know that the focus, the slogan, the mantra, the flow, is it 911? It is 911. So 9/11. Why do I got 10? Thank you for that correction, Nicole. It is September 11th. We're still talking about the great lock-in. Are you locked in? And then what does that look like for you individually? So if you can, we've got a lot to cover today. If you could turn your cameras on, if it's at all humanly and safely possible, engage with us today. Would love to see your handsome and beautiful faces in motion as opposed to your static profile pictures. But if that's the best that you can do, we greatly appreciate it. In true fashion, I'm going to call somebody out to take us on the field today. This person is going to set the tone, the tenor, and the temperament for our collective space. Today, let me see who I have in my screen. We're going to call on one of our newer additions to our roster, already crushing it. Know she's got to be out in a little bit of time. Gave her an out option before we started the session, and she chose to stay in the building. So, Rebecca, bring us out on the field this morning. What you got for us?
I, I don't have a lot of experience in this. I don't know what you guys do. You
That's
called it
okay.
out.
That's
I'm like,
okay. Yeah, okay. It's really easy. So imagine us in the tunnel. We get hyped to go onto the field of battle. Gets game time. You got your jersey on. You're in game mode mindset. You're going to give us a sentiment, word of encouragement, a thought of the day, a flow or vibration. Take us out on the field. Whatever comes from and through you organically, that's what's meant to be shared. We'll take it.
Basically tell us how awesome we are and how pretty we are, please.
Can you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you. Rebecca, take us out on the field. Go ahead and give it a shot.
if you know me, you know how much I love this, as Elias knows. But everyone just positive. Whatever happens outside, things are always going to be happening outside of our world. But we know what we need to focus on and what always works, and we just need to, put our heads down and keep grinding, keep doing what we know we need to do. The rest is noise, and just keep it out.
Exactly, exactly. Life be lifing, to Rebecca's point, but to the sentiment that Elias has been setting before the team, this is the great lock-in. Life is lifing, but make a conscious decision to lock in. And yes, George, you are beautiful with your facial hair and all. We are missing one of our family members today. And if you can if I can at all have your attention, I really want to just take a second. If you're a prayer or a believer, just sending out some positive energy and light to our brother Dan. Dan won't be with us today. He's alongside Lisa. It's public now, but Lisa's been fighting vigorously and relentlessly battling cancer. And today is the day that she goes for surgery to have a bunch of the cancer cells removed. So, out of respect and love and honor for our brother Dan, I'm just going to ask you, we're just going to take a quick moment of silence. You do what you do, send him positive vibes, pray, send a prayer up on him and Lisa's behalf. We're wishing for a speedy recovery. Dan has been standing tall through it all, not only for us, but for his family, because life be lifing. But like Rebecca said, we got to focus and push on. So I'm just going to give a moment of silence, send up some positive vibes, some prayers for Dan and Lisa for a brief moment. Dan, when you watch this, brother, we miss you. We're praying for you. We can't wait to have you back in the space. Lisa, we rooting for you. All right. Let's get straight to it. We have got some conversations to have I'm going to pull up, share my screen, make sure I've got my stuff in order first. Boom, share, desktop. No, let's do that. Bam, bam. Wins of the week. Let's talk wins of the week. We're into a new month. Got 30 days in this month. This is the beginning of Q4. I don't believe that the numbers are up to date, but I know that our target is 13.1 transactions this year. I'm sorry, this month. I believe we're at 7 or 8 because I saw a few come in last night and this morning. But let's start today off focusing on the wins. We're a team full of winners. Who's got a win of the week in one capacity, whether it's moving someone down the conversion funnel, whether it's you've gotten in the contract, you got a buy and a sale, any wins of the week. I'm sure with this space full of winners, I should have a row of hands raised for those who've got some wins of the week. And is that Lisette with her hand raised? Okay, Lisette, kick us off. Win of the week.
Win of the week is we just ratified on Holly Street. Thank you, Jesus. This started off as a Zillow buy, and now it's a sell as well. So I am grateful that we are officially ratified as of this morning. So we are starting off this morning in a glorious state of mind.
Congratulations. Good work. Yes, another win of the week. I saw Brianna's hand go up and then it went down. B, Brianna going once. Brianna going twice. Brianna with the long ponytail for the win. Slick back. Let's go. What's the win for the week?
I have my second flex contract that was falling apart yesterday. I thought I would end the day with a cancellation, and I am happy to report that I was a few minutes late today because saved it. We are still in contract with some heavy negotiating that happened. So
Congratulations.
second flex coming in.
Brianna, tell me a little bit more. Tell the team a little bit more about that, right? You say that you were in contract, it started to fall apart. You had to be the glue to keep it together. Tell us a little bit more about that.
We went into inspections and the house it needs a roof. There was some foundation issues and the seller just was not giving in. So I just had to stand firm, figure out what so we ended up agreeing to 410 purchase price from the 429. My client really needed credits. So we came up with going to 414 and giving an additional $4,000 credit. So my client was happy, seller seems to be, and we're able to proceed on. So it was challenging, but we got there.
Challenges develop our muscles, right? So congratulations on your superior negotiating skills. And I don't know if you guys heard or not, but
Yeah,
go ahead, Brianna.
I was really proud of myself because there was a couple times where I had to be really stern and nice at the same time with an agent because you don't want to be.
Oh man, I'm sure we want to hear the last of what you're sharing, Brianna, because I'm sure it's full of value, but our reception is going bad. So when you get back to us, you want to complete just your sentence, you're more than happy to do so. Aaron, big dog, what is your contribution to H-Bomb? I'm coming to you next.
I was just gonna say that the win of the week, Lisette and I, Lisette driving the ship on this sales, but it was a client that was a buyer and now they're a seller, and that deal got into contract. And so this cycle with this particular client is coming close to an end. And so it was the first time I had an opportunity to have a buyer end up selling a house, and so it's been quite the journey. And Lisette has definitely been driving this ship, and being big sis and all of this, muscling people. You're gonna repair this and you're gonna repair that. And Aaron, get over there and make sure the glass is in there. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So it's a good experience.
You know what, man? Congratulations to both you and Lisette. You right. She is I don't want to use the wrong term here, but she pushes a hard line. And so, great person.
She's the boss. She's the boss.
Great person to learn from. I'm happy for the both of you all and both of your recent success on there. I know, Aaron, you and I had some conversations that kind of had led to that connection, and to hear that you've been able to not only pick up the ball but then carry it across the finish line and score a touchdown is been dope, bro. So congratulations to the both of you guys.
Lisette's got me doing personality tests to see how it works. Like she goes the distance. Like, I mean, if you can work with Lisette, work with Lisette. She have you on a personality test, seeing how what do we got to fill in the gap. So that was a win for this week also.
Oh, well, give her the personality test too. It'd be good to see what personality type you dealing with too, Aaron. Don't be the student. Sometimes turn it around, right? But no, that. Congratulations to the both of you guys. Love to see everybody smiling, lighthearted and happy about wins of the week. H-Bomb, what you got, sister?
Hey, hi, good morning or afternoon. I'm in contract with a Zillow buyer. She's purchasing all cash. I'm actually headed to go to her inspections here in just a minute, which is why my camera's off. I'm trying to get ready to do that. I have another girl. She just got approved for 500,000 with Zillow Home Loans. Unfortunately, she's currently in a lease, but we're still looking because she says if we find the perfect one, she will break the lease. And so, yeah, a couple of wins there.
Those are wins. Congratulations, Heather. This is your first flex deal with the Stockton team, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to you. Now, was that a lead? And I'm just asking just for, the technical piece. Was that a lead that came in when? August?
Oh, yeah, I've got to look. I mean, I'm not on Follow Up Boss right now,
No
but
problem.
yeah, I'd probably say it came in August. Yeah. So it's been a while. It was a live connect. It was funny because she I think it was okay, maybe it was one of those tour requests, but when I called her, immediately she hung up on me and blocked my number from the Follow Up Boss app because I was like, "Hi, this is Heather with," and then it was like click. I called for my personal phone, and the first thing I said was like, "I'm calling about your tour for such and such property," and she's like, "Yeah," but she was a little grumpy at first, but she is amazing and she loves me and I love her, and she's been nothing but happy and she loves working with me, and once she gets to know her, she's really, really nice.
Love it. Love it. Heather, congratulations. I know
Thank
you and
you.
we've been on some of our pipeline review calls, really working through your pipeline, and to hear that you've been implementing a bunch of those strategies to get to this point. And if you got another in the pipeline, I'm just super proud of you. I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Keep grinding. Absolutely. And in actuality, I'm proud of all of you all as a team. Okay. We are in new territory that we've chartered for ourselves, and we're handling it. We're riding the wave. We're adjusting. Now there are some new developments that are happening with Zillow, being a partner with Zillow as a result of the partnership with Zillow, in the form of ZHL. And so we were able to have the loan officers into our space last Thursday. Real hyped up conversation, a lot of energy, a lot of questions, a lot of back and forth. But what I wanted to do now that we're back and it's a collective space with just us, no ZHL, no loan officers, I wanted to get your feedback. Dan and I believe Elias was on that call as well, have been meeting with our ZHL reps, talking about what's coming in the pipe, how are we going to integrate these conversations, how are we going to position ourselves. But before we get into all of that, which we will, how are you guys feeling about the ZHL integration? Feel free to take yourself off of mute, raise your hand. All right, does everyone have an accurate understanding of what the expectation is?
Mm-hmm.
No. Danielle says no. Daniela says no. V says yes. Anyone else? Because we've got
I
30.
was I would say I'm still a little confused on what our obligation is with them.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Because I want to make sure that we address. I'm good. Okay. Anyone else? So our obligation is simple, Brianna. It's changed since ZHL was original. We started to have these original conversations. Before, it was the amount of leads who were, remember, they had the blue box check, they wanted to be ZHL transferred. How many of those were actually transferred to ZHL? That was the extent of our role and responsibility as it relates to the partnership with ZHL. Well, we learned later that we had gotten inaccurate information in terms of how the program is rolling out. Here's essentially how it's rolling out. Of the percentage of leads that we have met with, or the leads that we've met with, 10% of those leads need to be transferred to ZHL for pre-approval. So it's an extra step, or it's a different step. It's not just connecting them, it's now based on a pre-approval. Now we understand we don't have control over how ZHL handles the ball when they receive the ball, or the referral from the buyer. We understand that, but we're held accountable for 10% of the leads that we've met with be approved through ZHL.
Now, my question to that is, so I had a client that came over, and at the same time as they were coming over to me, somehow they got linked up with Zillow Home Loans. So I didn't per se send the client over, but they came at the same time. So now they are Zillow Home Loans. Does that count?
It does count, yes. And then good question, Brianna, because I want to put some emphasis on something. Their metric that they're holding us to, now keep October 1st is when this goes live, ladies and gentlemen. They are going to begin to record and hold us to a performance metric of 10% of those that we've met that are in met with status be pre-approved beginning October 1st. Now, the lead does not have to necessarily be in met with status. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a Zillow lead. Although, for the sake of the conversation, as it relates to Zillow as the lead asset, for Zillow leads, we want to be having a conversation with them around Zillow Home Loans. 10% of those clients that we meet with, they're expected to be pre-approved. Does that clear up any misunderstandings? Everybody on the same page? Brianna, what does that mean? You're good? Okay. Here's why that's important. Our lead flow, whether unfortunate or fortunate, regardless of how we feel, is connected to this metric. It begins being recorded 10/1, October 1st. We'll have our first data points by November 1st. Okay? In that light, I'm gonna pull something up in this conversation. Come on, B. Get it right. There we go. Okay. Let's talk mid-funnel metrics for a moment. If your name is on this list, let me be the first to congratulate you. What this is showing are your mid-funnel metrics from met with to offer rate to offer accepted. Number of offers written, offer rate, median. So in this case, Tim, or who's on this call? Aaron had 28 leads that he, what the heck? Aaron had 20 leads that he met with. I have to keep doing that. Of the 20 leads that he met with, he submitted offers on 14% of those leads. Okay. Who else is on this call? Hamada, 14 met with, 9% offer rate. Blessing, 11 met with, 7% offer rate. Ronnie, 29 leads met with, 9% offer rate. For anyone who's Brittany, 14 leads met with, 8% offer rate. They're writing offers. So here's the question. When we're in this mid funnel, And I'd like to hear from some of these folks whose names listed as the top 8 in our Bay Area team who are actually moving the lead through the funnel of conversion. They've set the appointment, they've met with the lead, they're actually booking a meeting from a meeting, and they're submitting offers to where they have a crooked number in their conversion column. Here's my question for you. Aaron, feel free to take yourself off of mute. Hamada, feel free to take yourself off of mute. Ronnie, or anyone else whose name's on this list, what is your sequence, your process? Because you clearly have a strategy and a rhythm on how you're moving them through that mid-funnel metrics of meeting the appointment to actually submitting offers and getting offers accepted. What does that rhythm look like? Anyone feel free to take themselves off of mute. Share with the collective wisdom what your strategy for success is that has got you meeting with the client and actually moving that lead through the funnel of showing more homes, writing more offers, and getting offers accepted. I see Aaron on the call. Closed mouth. Hamada call.
You know what? I mean, I just go and connect with people. Like I try to find who I'm going to connect with, and then you go in prepared. I do a lot of texting, so I pick houses for them, and I through follow a boss, and then I'll text them. Like I'll do my Paragon search, link the houses, text it to myself, and then send them that link, and then they tend to pick houses out. But it's just connecting with them when you're there. You know, and then like you said, a lot of the things we learn in these classes and these sessions, you just kind of apply it when you're there connecting with people. So you're trying to book meetings, you're asking questions about how you feel about this house, and then it's following up with them. And typically when you are going out and meeting people, there's some people that you go out and they're kind of um they don't really, they're not engaging, they're just kind of, you can kind of tell they're going to fall by the wayside, but there's some that are really engaged. And so when you pick up on that energy from them, like you have to go in on that and focus a lot of that energy on making sure you get them to the finish line. So it really is meeting them, finding out what their needs are, finding out what they're doing, and then setting that next appointment, whether it be for a buyer's consultation, which most times that's what your goal is to do, is to get them to do a buyer's consultation. And then once you do a buyer's consultation, or you actually start talking with them in depth about that, then I feel like they feel more confident to write an offer. And then the next, usually around the same time, that they'll start picking areas and targeting specific spots. And that's where, when you're doing a search for them or whatever, or when they send you a house, you can do a little search around and then send them something back, like, here's 3 more that we can go look at. And then you give them a broader net of houses to pick from. And then a lot of times, depending on, again, their energy, they want to find a house. That's why they called us in the first place, right? So you find the ones that are not looky-loos, and the ones that are like really excited, like, I want to make something happen. And even what H-Bomb was saying about the client who was in a lease, and that's what they say at first. It's almost like the people who say they're in a lease are like the most willing to break that lease and find the perfect house. So if she keeps on them and she keeps sending links and stuff like that to them, eventually they're going to walk into a house like, I want to break my lease for this house. And so I just take a lot of the information we get from these classes and just try to incorporate it into your flow. And like, we all know what we're talking about, is just remembering to you guys always say the acronym, but the booking appointment from an appointment thing, and just stuff like that. Just always trying to be in front of them. But you'll catch that energy from them. I feel like I catch that energy from them early in the process, and then I focus my energy on getting them. And so maybe I let some fall by the wayside that aren't giving me that energy. And so H-Bomb brought up something today where that lady kind of seemed grumpy at first, but she won her over. So that's another example of learning something from these clinics that you can apply. So that's my kind of how I do it. And it's not quite as structured as I think you would like it to be, but it's kind of, I'm a very reactionary, let's go with the flow kind of guy. So that's what I tend to do.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad at going with the flow and having your own rhythm, as long as the nuance and the definitive direction is present. right? Because oftentimes you're going based on when is this a good time? You're looking for the opportunity to really integrate the conversation, whether it's about bam fam, book another meeting from a meeting, as long as the outcome is income. Thank you, coach. Exactly. So your rhythm is your rhythm, like your fingerprint is your fingerprint, right? Your goatee strands, those are proprietary to you, right? I wish I could get, but I'm just gonna live vicariously through you. Light-skinned brothers got to stick together. As long as you have a rhythm. Now, in the concept of ZHL or lending, here's a question for everyone. How are you having that lending conversation? How are you having that conversation? What is the value? And if we don't know, this is why we're in this space to really to really perfect this. ZHL has a value. Let's take ZHL out of it, although we're going to reintegrate them back into it. When you're having the conversation about lending, what is that conversation? When and where do you set up that conversation? Anyone?
I've used ZHL and I like them. I talked the last one I did where I integrated is we were doing condos and ZHL's person checks the condos to see if they're warrantable, see if you can get a normal FHA or a conventional loan on it. So that's how I integrated with them. And then also sometimes with the first time home buyers, I'll mention how, Zillow will pay for the appraisal, and that's a upfront expense that they don't typically have to pay with other lenders. And that one also kind of encourages them to make a move because that's another part of writing the offer. They're a little afraid to write an offer because they understand that there's expenses that are involved in it, but ZHL takes that $700 upfront expense away, so they can write an offer and feel like, hey, if I get this, cool. If it works, it doesn't, I'm not out of my pocket anything. And so that's how I kind of try to integrate them in, and then that's when I'll introduce them when they seem interested in that. I found the appraisal thing works the best.
So you said a couple of things. Thank you for your contribution, Aaron. And you guys, this is a collective conversation. So please feel free to contribute because all insight is valuable insight. There's some strategies here. I was at a showing 2 days ago, 9 o'clock in the morning. I got a Zillow lead that came in at like 8 something at night. Have you guys been getting those too? I didn't answer the one last night. It was 8:38, and I'm like, the hell with Zillow. I'm not answering that damn call. But
At 5 in the morning.
okay, so
5 in the morning and at 9:01
p.m. Okay, if you have that experience still, if you come across that experience, please send a Slack message to Dan and myself. Please, so that we can make Zillow aware of some of the experience that we're having. Because I don't care what time zone it is, 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night on a weekday, getting a Zillow lead, I don't expect you to answer that call. So, Mandy, I'm assuming you have a contribution to that point, and then we'll keep moving the train down the track.
Yeah, so I've been in like 3 different situations with Zillow. Okay, I guess the first one I should have known when to press 1 or 2 while the machine is talking, but I've been getting already claimed when the machine is not even done talking.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
like, what the hell? Why? Like, how does that affect me? Like, it's like, you know what it reminds me of?
Uh-oh, you're going in and out, Mandy.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Or-
there you go.
Okay. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of Opcity, but like Opcity, you click and you know what to do, right? With this
Right.
one, like, do I just hit number 1 while he's talking? Because it's literally within seconds and it's like already claimed. And it's like, well, you never told me what to press.
Yeah, what I'm learning is Zillow's having some technical issues on the back end. At first, I would advise you to either uninstall and then reinstall your Zillow app to see if that is a remedy first.
Okay.
Right? And sometimes we have to constantly reboot that app for it's just
Okay.
technology. And case in point, I was talking to my mom last night. It was like 8:30 something. Zillow lead came in, and I'm like, oh, I'm not answering that. What happened was I guess I put myself on pause, seeing that leads are coming in at 8:30. So I put myself on pause, but the phone kept ringing through the Zillow app. it just kept going. It kept going. My mom was like, "What is that noise in the background?" Well, it was my ringtone from the Zillow lead continuing to come through. So yes, in those instances, we're going to want to make sure that we report that, get that information to Dan and myself. We'll make
Okay.
sure that we connect with our Zillow
I
rep.
have the screenshots. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Just put them in a Slack message, Samandy. Tag Dan and myself. We'll get it over to our Zillow rep and get down to the bottom of it, because we don't want to be held accountable for those call drops, missed calls. Looks like it's impacting our answer rate. Yeah, we definitely don't want to be held accountable for that. So the more documentation that we have, the better we complete our case. So let's move back into booking a meeting from a meeting, how we're moving leads down that mid-funnel metrics. Here's a question for you. Aaron said, I go based upon the feeling in the conversation. How many of you all have that same approach? Go with the feel in the conversation. Okay, I see a lot of hands going up. My question to you is, how do you transition into that conversation? Where are you located? Are you positioning yourself strategically to have that conversation so you feel this is the right time? They got a 2-story property. You've had some conversations. You're asking some deeper questions to get thought processes on where they are. They go upstairs to go and look at the upstairs space. They come down. Are you positioned at the base of like literally, where are you positioning yourself? And how are you transitioning into that conversation? Like, how do you engineer or create the moment to have the lending conversation with the goal of booking a meeting from a meeting in your mid-funnel metrics? Let's talk strategy around that. And I'm looking for usually first meeting it comes up. Okay. Is that in person, Heather? Is that on the initial ALM call? Because on the initial call, we should be booking the appointment, getting an understanding of the location, learning of their motivation.
When I meet them at the property, usually that's when financing will come up, because the price of the house will, it'll be like, is this, is this the price, the price range that you want to be in? Have you, are you pre-approved? So, what, one way or another, it just kind of comes up, if they're engaged and we're talking and we're having a conversation. One guy was already pre-approved by a lender, but he felt like he could get pre-approved for more. And I, well, have you talked to Zillow Home Loans? They offer free appraisal. I said they're a direct lender. They may be able to work the numbers a little bit better for you if you want. I'd be happy to connect you with them. And I did. I believe he is talking with Ben at this time. So one way or another, I always feel like at the first meeting, if they are engaged in talking and they're not totally standoffish, it usually comes up at that time.
Okay. Is everyone else having that same experience where when we're at the appointment met is when you find the opportunity to have the conversation? But what I'm looking, I guess maybe I'm not clear. There's an art to how you introduce that. Right. And a lot of it has to do with paying attention to the energy of the lead. More of it has to do with the type of questions that you're asking, the type of information that you're trying to draw out of them, the connecting points that you're learning in the conversations that we've had, whether it's the initial call, booking the ALM. You should have learned some things around them, whether it's their motivation and location that we can capitalize on to create some type of a bridge to begin to engineer the opportunity to pitch the loan discussion. I see you, Brianna. Give me 1 second. You're on deck. So we're talking about the art of engineering that moment. I hear when the energy's good. What if the energy's off? What if you got to work a little harder to dig through some of the outer layers of defense mechanisms that some of the buyers have? I'm sure we've dealt with some distant buyers. I want to hear about some of the art strategies that you all are using to be able to position that. Brianna, what you got?
I was gonna say, when the vibe doesn't vibe and you are at that point where it's like, okay, I need my art strategy, which I'm still developing. We're in the development stages of that. That's when I get it. H Bomb just said shoot your shot. Sometimes the vibe is where I'm like, screw it, I'm shooting my shot. Like if the perfect opportunity hasn't came, we weren't in the backyard where no one can hear us and we can kind of like ask the question, then I ask for the appointment and say, you know, so that we can get on the same page, go over a few things, get into the buyer consult, and then it comes up. So that's where I shoot your shot for the appointment. If you feel like it hasn't came up, get on the buyer consult, which I try to schedule on Zoom or invite them into the office. It ends up on Zoom and go through the process, and then loan comes up and say, so what option are you looking for in purchasing this? I don't always say loan because you can offend someone. Had that happen. They were a cash buyer and said, why do you assume I need a loan? So I always say, like, what options are you looking into? Financing, possibly cash buy. Always bring that up. And then from there, the conversation has to flow because I can't keep showing you houses without a pre-approval. And I've actually had to just recently have that conversation because I have a client who he's not working. His wife's only been at the job 2 months. I've introduced them to a loan person. I've asked them if they want to be transferred to Zillow loans, and they will not get pre-approved, but they continuously click that button to schedule an appointment to see houses. So I had to have a very uncomfortable conversation that some of these houses are tenant occupied and they want to know that I have a pre-approved buyer, and I'm not a liar. So I need a pre-approved buyer.
I love that. I love that, Brianna. Let's think about this. I'm going to use the analogy of a doctor. When you go to a doctor, the doctor doesn't wait until it feels right before he learns the system, learns your symptoms, learns of your symptoms. How does a doctor generally learn of your symptoms? Well, they ask you they ask you questions, right? They're investigating. They're delving deeper into the discomfort that you're feeling. Where is it? When is it? How is it? When did that happen? How long has it been happening? They don't wait till it feels right to diagnose your symptoms. They have a rhythm by which they discover what your symptoms are to then determine what the treatment is, right? This is no different, ladies and gentlemen. We don't get to this point by chance. And I think that's the message that we're saying. I don't want you to have the conversation by chance based upon if it feels right. No, we go into it with a rhythm and intention. Okay, we're we're engineering the opportunity to have the conversation. It's got to be strategic. It cannot be by chance. So if we go back to our mid-funnel metrics, those who are really shining with our mid-funnel metrics, what I'm hearing is they're intentional about booking a meeting from a meeting in the form of a buyer consultation, and they're engineering the opportunity to present the loan conversation. It's not happening by chance. Now, yes, we may be waiting until it feels right based upon the doctor asking the questions, but it's still with an intentional design. It's by design that we're getting to that point. And I would attest to, I'm sharing my screen again, I'm trying to multitask here, as to that being the strategy for for the folks that are in this list here. The goal, ladies and gentlemen, we lock the appointment in. We're meeting the appointment. We have a rhythm there. We get to the appointment. We know the goal is to book another meeting from a meeting. Now the new insertion is this dialogue about ZHL. We want to make sure that all of us are speaking the same language in terms of the benefits of ZHL. Who could take themselves off of mute and give me your script when you're articulating and having that long conversation? You've engineered it. You're having the conversation. It's not by chance. You are evaluating where they are. You've positioned yourself, the positioning in the room, all of that is on point. How do you present that? How is that being presented in this space? Someone take themselves off of mute and contribute what that script looks like. I mean, I don't want to do it myself. No one's had the conversation around ZHL loans and have integrated that, what they're at the appointment met stage on this call. I don't believe that. Okay.
I'm trying to take myself off mute and it's like not working with me.
But we can hear you.
Now you can. I had to swipe right and click on the button that says tap to speak because I was trying to like, anyway. But
Okay.
usually when they're looking at the house, I will bring up like, so, the thing with the price range that they're shopping in, and kind of bring up, and a lot of times they'll bring it up themselves, but I don't have like an exact script, but it was like, so, you know, have you, how do you, God, now I can't even think. How are you looking for homes in this price range or are you able to go a little bit higher? I mean, how have you kind of determined where you're at financially as far as, purchasing in this price range? And so you're not exactly saying like, are you pre-approved, but asking them, how did you determine that this is the price range that you need to be in? Have you talked to anybody? And then that kind of opens the conversation. It's not assuming that they're not pre-approved or paying cash or whatever. It's sort of asking them how they determined that this is the price range that they want to be in.
Okay, that's one approach. And generally, the way I present that is generally what mortgage payment are you comfortable with? I don't really talk about the price point, but more so the monthly mortgage payment because that's what they absorb consistently, right? And kind of reverse
Yeah.
from that.
And that's realistically what it comes back to. You could be pre-approved for, $1 million, but if you're not happy paying that mortgage. So it's absolutely another way to
100%. I think, you know, ZHL and the metric of 10% meth width is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. So wisdom would dictate that we get ahead of it in terms of our cadence and our flow on how we're going to present that. There are some benefits for a lead staying within the Zillow ecosystem. If you guys need me to comprise something or a one pager that really lists out the benefits of a lead staying within the Zillow ecosystem and leveraging ZHL, we're more than willing to have that constructed for you guys and sent out as something that you can flow from. However, the nuance is real simple. Here's what we do next in terms of connecting you with our preferred lender. Okay, definitive language. Here's where we go next. Have you had the conference? Have you had the lending conversation? No, I haven't. Here's what I suggest we do next. Zillow has an amazing loan department. They pay for the appraisal, keeps you in the ecosystem, it streamlines the process. They're very communicative, like 4 or 5 benefits as to why we would connect them to Zillow. How we're going to make that transfer and how does that sound to you? Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're the advisor. You're the consultant. They're looking for direction from us. We know that we're held accountable to a metric as it relates to Zillow leads. So having the nuance and the cadence and the sequence and your rhythm of how you introduce that and engineer the opportunity to introduce that is going to determine whether we hit that metric or not. Does that make sense to everyone? Do we need to do some breakout rooms with some scripting to ensure that everyone is comfortable with how to present that in the conversation? Who's had the conversation with the lead around ZHL and made the transfer? Anyone on this call? Demian, take yourself off of mute, King. Share with the group what your rhythm was. What that mean? What that mean? What you checking your pulse? What we got going on?
No, I'm over here sick with a sore throat, man.
Are you sick with a sore throat? Sounds, bro, you got that 102.9 K. Yeah,
yeah, I wish it was comfortable.
Okay. I don't want to work your throat, but it seems it's age so you want to preserve your vocal cords. I understand. We're gonna, your money is in music. We need you to 100%. H-bomb, you got a contribution there? What does your rhythm sound like? Or is that an old hand?
That is an old hand. I did have a question, but it's the same thing. Just with that guy, it was just I when he was already pre-approved, but said that he felt like he'd get pre-approved for more. Well, ZHL, they have an amazing loan program. They offer a free appraisal. They're a direct lender. They may have a little bit more leverage or programs that may be better for you and may be able to get you pre-approved at a higher price point. I'm not saying they can or can't, but I've worked with them before. They do a great job. It doesn't hurt to talk to them. But my question is this: if people come to you and they're in your met with category, they did not ask to be transferred to a Zillow home loan. They didn't check the box. I mean, we can't really transfer them to Zillow home loans unless they ask, correct?
That is incorrect. So that is that was the old way,
Okay.
Heather. So the old way, to your point, was when we got the lead, that blue ZHL transfer to ZHL home loans box was highlighted. That a number of those leads needed to be transferred to the loan officers with ZHL, and that was the extent of our responsibility.
Yeah.
That has shifted. That box is no longer there. Okay, it's gone. So now the rhythm for handling a Zillow lead, if they qualify, because ZHL doesn't offer a robust product package. Meaning, I've got a lead who's a first-time home buyer. They're looking for down payment assistance. Zillow's not going to be who I'm going to transfer them to. They don't have payment assistance programs, right? They don't have anything they don't have any of that cow heifer type system products. They don't have that. So I'm not going to transfer this lead to ZHL because this lead is looking for down payment assistance. Okay. But let's look at it universally this way. We get a lead from Zillow. You engineer the opportunity, you create the moment to have the conversation around being connected to a lender. But hold your question, Julia. I'll get right back to you on the but how. Unless, Coach, you want to answer that in the chat, that'd be cool. But here's what we do next. Have you established a relationship with the lender? No, Vernon, I haven't. Excellent. You came through us through Zillow. Zillow Home Loans has an amazing lending program. They're 1.8 times guaranteed to close the transaction faster. They're going to cover your appraisal costs. They're going to waive your appraisal costs. They're going to keep the communication in-house and streamlined. Just so many benefits to you being connected to Zillow Home Loans. How about I connect you to the loan officer, whatever their name is, connect you guys through follow-up balls or via text. And then what they'll do is take the baton from you, have a pre-qualification conversation, and take the ball from them. That's the rhythm in the integration. It's no different than making a referral to your preferred lender. It's no different. The cadence and the rhythm is the same. The difference is the lender that we're making the referral to for a Zillow lead. Did that land? Did that simplify it? Did that make sense?
It did, but more so my question is, if they didn't want to be transferred,
then don't do it.
Okay, that's the big thing. If they're like, no, I'm fine, or I'm already pre-approved, or I'm not interested in talking to, I have somebody else I want to work with, we don't transfer them unless they have said, yes, this is what I
They got to sign off on it. Yeah, we can't force feed them who they work with. Okay, we can't do that. We'll go through this here. Stockton, just wanted to bring it to your attention. Steffi, Heather, you guys are crushing it, right? You're meeting with your lead. You're walking them through the mid funnel. You're showing them homes. It's clear that you're booking another meeting from a meeting. You're writing offers and getting those offers accepted, as we heard from some of our Stockton team with wins for the week. Here is a snapshot. If we were being graded today, which we're not, it doesn't really launch until October 1st, which gives us plenty of time to get ahead of it. We've had 235 connections this month already. It's only the 11th. Our ALM, excellent. Love it. I'm going to get that a little higher, but at the beginning of the month, we're at 77%. Fantastic. Appointment set is higher. It's getting a little better than it was, but we want to continue to place emphasis on that. And now met. Here's where we're having the conversation. Of this 24%, as an example, of met with for the month of September, 10% of that needs to be transferred to ZHL for pre-approval, which is what? 2.4? 11% of those leads, that of the connections that we've gotten, so a little about 24, 25, we're showing homes, 1% we're writing offers. I'm missing something here. The rhythm of how we go from booking from Bam Fam to engineering a moment to have the conversation about lending into the buyer consultation, which we are working on creating a one-pager for each one of you all to integrate into your buyer consultation that's specifically around ZHL, now that we know that we're being held to this metric, to be used and implemented and incorporated into your existing buyer consultation. We're working on that now. Because there is a level of importance for ensuring that our leads through Zillow, coming very soon, thank you, Coach, our leads through Zillow are the asset, ladies and gentlemen. Our nuance and our rhythm and our sequence as to how we present that. We want to practice that now. We want to work on that cadence, that rhythm now, while we have time to practice for it. So here's the call to action for you going into the weekend. And then I'm going to pass the mic to Elias, have him give his closing sentiments and feedback, because I'm sure he's got some contributions. And then we're going to get on with the rest of our weekend. Begin to integrate that conversation now. You get a Zillow lead, run the play. You book the meet, you set the appointment, you meet the appointment, you book another meeting from a meeting. Find a space, be conscious of how you're going to engineer and create the moment, positioning, transition, be conscious of that. And then practice the integration of ZHL as the preferred lender for Zillow leads. Run the play, get some practice runs while we're not held accountable whether we drop the ball or not. Let's put it in motion now. That's my call to action for you all. Every Zillow lead that you get, we understand that not all of them will qualify for ZHL. Just run the play to get the rep, to get the practice. We got 3 weeks. That's my call to action for you as it relates to the conversation, ZHL. Get the practice, and then we'll come back into the space. We'll be training on this for the rest of the month because we're going to begin to be held accountable for it. We will script role play. We will go into breakout sessions. We will make sure that everyone is fluid in their rhythm and in their nuances around how you're moving the lead through the conversion funnels. Coach Elias, what you got, King?
Very good stuff, you guys. Super happy with where we're going, the direction of this. And then obviously we have to adhere. We just have to adjust our language. And in that vein, I think it's really important, if you guys have not done your DISC profile lately, if you have not read the Social Styles Handbook, I want you guys to really dive into this, because when you're dealing with a consumer, as soon as you start talking with them, you should be able to listen for cues on how this person receives information and how they communicate. So when you're talking with a high D, it is period. This is what period, right? If you're talking to somebody that is an I, it is comma, comma, comma. It's like the conversation never stops. It goes on, it goes on. When you talk to an S, it is somebody that is super amiable. They want to associate how it feels. When you're talking to a C, which is going to be the most difficult person you talk to, those are going to be the analytical types. Those are your engineers. They want to know numbers. They want to know data. They want to know facts. And so when you're talking to somebody and you're prepping them for the next stage of the conversation, you should be checking your speech pattern, the tone, the pauses, the fluidity of your conversation, the downstroke, the upstroke, the tonality. All these things matter so much. And so as much as we want you guys to focus on the process, I think it's equally as important that you guys are really diving into, how do I understand on the first level of communication with them, how they best receive communication, and where do I profile that person on the DISC, and then make sure that I'm communicating based on the way that they receive and the way that they give. And I promise you, you guys will book more appointments if you can understand where they're at and meet them with their words and their cadence and your flow. That would be my thoughts.
A great sentiment, Coach. And to Elias's point, that's a part of the emotional intelligence aspect of sales. Being in sales is actually understanding who you're dealing with on a human level and positioning yourself in a way to be able to gather that information is going to teach you and drive how you engage with that individual on a human level. So love it. If you don't have any questions for us, you don't have any feedback, crush your weekend. If you're on, which is the red team this week, you're on call. Let's keep our answer rate what it is. Let's be intentional about picking up the phone, intentional about setting the appointment. If you've got leads who are in your mid-funnel metric, place an emphasis on engineering the opportunities to move them down the funnel with intention. Hamada, you're chiming out, bro. What you got? Rapid fire. What's your contribution?
Nah, just real quick. So, this might not be a bad time to look into buying into on some Zillow stocks as well, right? I had this situation come up with Square when it came to these metrics now being pushed down to us. So, just want to give you guys a heads up. Somebody who's had some good opportunity in some stocks, this might be a great time to start inserting yourself into it, especially while we get this at this level. You can only imagine what they're about to do nationwide. So, just a heads up.
Yep, Zillow is the 800-pound gorilla, and they are consuming the market. So strategic thinking there. Hamada, thank you for your contributions, brother. Hearing no feedback, no bottlenecks, no hangups. Crush your weekend. Make it a dope weekend. Choose to be happy. Choose to be engaged. Choose to be full of joy. That is a choice. Until I see you again, grace, peace, and blessings. Holla later.